Max Rockatansky says he used to be a cop and road warrior. Now, he's walking through a post-apocalyptic Australia, trying to escape haunting thoughts of his dead wife and child and other people he couldn't save. Max is standing on a ridge and looking around when a two-headed lizard crawls up to him. He stomps on it and then eats it. He drives away, and a group of scavengers called the War Boys, who are all pale and covered in blisters from radiation sickness, chase after him right away. Before they catch Max, they chase him through the desert and make him crash. The War Boys take Max to their hideout, which is a network of caves in the Citadel, which is a very tall mesa. His head and face are shaved. They put a note on his back that says he is a universal blood donor, type O negative, so they can use him as a blood source. They put an iron muzzle in the shape of a trident over the bottom part of his face and almost brand him with a picture of a skull on fire, but he gets away and runs away from the War Boys. The chase through the caves shows how big and well supplied with water and greenhouses the Citadel is. Max keeps seeing images of the dead as he runs. He keeps seeing them until he gets to an exit high above the ground. He jumps out and grabs a swinging hook, but he keeps swinging back toward the War Boys, so they pull him back into the tunnel. Immortan Joe, who played the bad guy Toe Cutter in the first Mad Max movie, rules over a large group of survivors in the Citadel. This group is called the War Boys. Joe wears a scary mask on his face made of horse teeth set in a big set of jaws. To help him breathe, air hoses are attached to a bellows system on his back, presumably, his lungs are damaged. As he talks to a crowd of people on the ground below the Citadel, he gives them water, which makes them go crazy and fight for it when Joe turns it off a few seconds later. He tells the people not to get too used to water so they won't go crazy when they don't have it. Then, Joe sends his commander Imperator Furiosa and a group of war boys in smaller vehicles with a big war rig to Gastown to get fuel. Furiosa's lower left arm and hand have been replaced by a metal prosthesis. Furiosa leaves the road to Gastown, which she can see in the distance as a group of oil refineries, and heads east. Joe hears about the change and runs to the locked rooms where he keeps his 5 wives, young women chosen to breed his children. Our children will not be warlords and who killed the world are written on the walls. Joe is told by an old woman that he can't own a person. Furiosa takes the woman away from Joe, so he gets the War Boys together and goes after her. All of the War Boys want to join the chase, but one of them is so weak that he needs a blood bank. This means that Max has to go with them, chained to Nux and connected to the driver by a tube that goes to the central line. The War Boys think that Immortan Joe can lead them to Valhalla's gates, so Nux is willing to die for his leader. The War Boys ride after Furiosa's war rig, which is attacked by the Buzzards, another tribe of scavengers. Nux puts Max on the hood of his car like the ship's prow, and he and the others all go after Furiosa. They try to get close to the rig, but Furiosa throws most of them away. The War Boys help the fight by using spears with explosive tips. Nux moves toward the rig as Max tries to get away. Furiosa drives toward a huge sandstorm that is coming. Even as they head into dangerous sand tornadoes, Nux keeps chasing her. During the storm, a few War Boys die, and Nux plans a kamikaze run by spilling fuel inside his car. He plans to use a flare to set it on fire when Max is strong enough to stop him. In the storm, the two crash. Max wakes up and finds that he is still chained to Nux, who is still asleep, and that he is still wearing Nux's muzzle. He gets a shotgun and tries to shoot Nux in the wrist, but it doesn't work. He sees Furiosa's rig and walks over to it. There, he finds 5 beautiful women, the splendid Angharad, Toast the Knowing, capable Chaeto the Fragile, and the Dag cleaning themselves with a hose and cutting off their chastity belts with bolt cutters. Splendid is 9 months pregnant with Joe's child, and Dag is also carrying his child. Max points the gun at the women and tells them to give him the hose. He drinks and then tell them to cut his chain with the cutters. Dag tries to break it, but he can't. Furiosa can see in the distance that Joe has brought help from the other towns that supply the Citadel with gas and weapons. The People Eater and the Bullet Farmer are in charge of the forces that are coming. Max and Furiosa fight as he tries to cut the chain that is holding him to Nux. Nux wakes up and helps Max fight Furiosa, who is being helped by the other women. Max tries to take the rig for himself, but Nux cuts the chain. But it stops because Furiosa put in a kill switch, and she is the only one who knows how to get it going again. Max lets her get back on the rig, but he won't take the other women. Furiosa makes them follow her because she is taking them to a place she calls the Green Place. When Furiosa says that Joe's thanks to Max will probably be a slow, painful death, Max gives in. As they ride away in the war rig, Nux sneaks on board. He cuts the brake line going to the fuel pod, which slows down the rig. Max gets off the tanker and reattaches the line. During this part of the chase, Furiosa gives Max a file that he uses to take off his face mask. Furiosa drives the rig into a canyon where she has a deal with a group of biker bandits. In exchange for the 3,000 gallons of fuel in the trailer pod, the biker bandits will close the pass behind her with a rock slide to stop her pursuers. She tells Max how to throw the switches in the right order to stop the kill switch, and then she asks him what his name is. He doesn't want to tell her, so she tells him, "When I say fool, get out of here quickly." They see that Joe and his troops are getting closer. Furiosa gets out of her car and tells the bikers that she has the agreed upon 3,000 gallons of fuel and will detach the pod. One of the bikers is upset because she said there would only be a few people after them, but there are actually 3 big groups. Furiosa jumps off the rig to put it between herself and the bikers. She yells fool and manages to get back on as Max drives the rig away, between bullets. Even though she didn't get rid of the fuel trailer, the bikers blew up the overpass, which stopped Joe's pursuit for a while. As they speed away, Furiosa and Max used their different shooting skills to fight off the biker thugs. Joe is able to get over the rockfall in his off-road vehicle with big wheels. Nux joins him and uses a piece of cloth he stole from Furiosa to show that Splendid is on her rig. In the desert, there is another chase. The war boys keep trying to catch up to the rig, but Joe is getting there first. He tries to shoot at the rig, but Splendid gets in the way, and Joe can't do anything because he doesn't want to hurt his possible son. Joe sprays chrome paint on Nux's mouth and tells him that if he helps, he will take him to the gates of Valhalla. Nux loses his gun right away in front of Joe, who keeps driving with disappointment. Splendid tries to get back to the front of the truck, but she falls off and Joe's car runs over her. The women tell Max to go back, but when he tells Furiosa that Splendid went under the wheels, she says they have to keep going. Everyone else wants Splendid. Joe is holding Splendid's body and yelling at them from behind. Nux sneaks back into the rig and says he'll help the women get away from Joe. He is sad because he has failed Joe again and can't join Joe's personal army. He is lying on the floor. Capable consoles him. Furiosa tells Max at the front about Green Place and how she was taken away from it when she was a child. As they drive through the night, the big truck gets stuck in a big mud field. Not too far behind them is the bullet farmer. Max tries to shoot at him but misses. Furiosa then gets a good shot, taking out the bullet farmer's lights and making him blind. Nux suggests that they hook the truck's winch cable to a nearby tree and pull the rig forward. The organic mechanic, who works for Joe, takes Splendid's body as she is about to die, and cuts the baby out of her stomach. He tells Joe that the baby is also dead, but that it was a boy. Rictus is an adult, so Joe tells him that he had a brother. Rictus yells with pride. The women keep trying to pull the rig out of the mud, while Max goes outside to face the bullet farmer himself. A few bright explosions can be seen in the fog far away, and he soon comes back with the bullet farmer's blood on his face and a lot of guns and bullets. In the morning, the rig approaches a tower where the Valkyrie, a naked woman, is screaming for help. Max thinks it's a trap, but Furiosa steps out and tells the Valkyrie the name of her mother and that she belongs to this clan. The Valkyrie climbs down from the tower and puts on a robe. More older women, the Vuvolini, emerge. Keeper of the Seeds, who is the oldest, can tell who Furiosa is. Furiosa tells them that she is taking the women from the Citadel to the Green Place, but the Keeper of the Seeds tells her that the muddy swamp they just went through was the Green Place and that it is no longer habitable. Furiosa walks into the sand, drops to her knees, and screams. The Vuvolini agrees to help the women from the Citadel ride across the salt flats, the dried-up ocean, to find a place to live. Max can't stop thinking about his wife and child, so he decides to help the women get back to the Citadel since Joe's plants and water supply aren't being watched right now. They also want Joe and his army to get stuck in the canyons. The group heads back toward the Citadel on their horses. Joe can see them with his telescope and knows what they are up to. He gets his army together and goes after them. The Vuvolini helped put up a fight. While protecting one of her own, the Valkyrie shoots at the war boys until she is run over. Max and Furiosa kill some of the war boys, and Max uses Joe as a human shield to get Joe to kill the People Eater. One of the war boys also kills Keeper of the Seeds by cutting her neck. Joe gets Toast and holds him a hostage. Furiosa is stabbed in Joe's car, and as Joe and Rictus pick up speed, she gets weaker. Toast takes Joe's attention away long enough for Furiosa to hook Joe's mask to the wheels of his car. She growls at him, "Remember me," as Joe's mask and part of his face being ripped off by the wheels, killing him. Rictus still tries to stop them, but the rig heads toward the canyon. The women get off safely, and Nux says goodbye to Capable before he swerves into the canyon, killing Rictus and causing the overpass to collapse, putting an end to Joe's army. Furiosa's lungs almost give out on the way back to the Citadel. Max makes a tiny hole in her side so she can breathe. Max gives her some of his own blood when she starts to lose consciousness. As she shuts her eyes, he finally tells her his name. Everyone gets to the Citadel. Max shows the people Joe's dead body, which has no mouth. This makes everyone cheer. They break Joe's body up and eat him. People can get as much water as they need from the water supply, which is brought out. Furiosa gets up and seems to take over as the new leader. Max and she give each other a respectful nod again, and then he slips away into the crowd to go on his own way.